So the great divide began. What's going on, everybody? Broken Matrix here. Oh, here's the great divide. So I want y'all to understand and pay attention. Like I said, you have to pay attention to the context of a person's words, bro. Let's dig into this video.
Well, the NBA preseason officially starts this weekend, but it comes at the same time as growing tension over vaccines. This week, the NBA announced that it would begin docking pay from unvaccinated players who miss games because of local vaccine mandates. Still, roughly 10% of players refuse to get the shot. One of the most visible holdouts is Brooklyn Nets point guard Kyrie Irving, who...
This is a part of the public shaming and the public shame and the smearing of the character and stuff. So here it is. Throughout this whole pandemic, they've been saying that we have a choice. Well, we all know that that's bullshit. They say that, but then try to guilt trip us and then force mandates and do all this, really leaving us with no option other than to, what? Complete chaos. I mean, that's it. That's all it's gonna turn into. So here's the smear campaign. So they're gonna polarize this guy right here and paint him out to be a villain. Just pay attention to how they. Just pay attention. Just listen to it.
Who could be barred from playing any home games this season due to New York's vaccine requirements. Here's Irving dodging questions about his vaccine status earlier this week.
Here's Irving dodging questions about his vaccine status this week. Dodging? He answered. Oh, but being that it wasn't an answer that they wanted, it's considered dodging. He answered literally. How is that dodging? He answered the question.
Bro, honestly, I like to keep that stuff private, man. I'm a human being first, and obviously living in this public sphere, there's just a lot of questions about what's going on in the world of Kyrie, and I think I just would love to just keep that private.
Joining me now, Boston Celtics center Enes Kanter, who has been...
See, he answered, but it wasn't the answer they wanted. He's not going with the narrative, so they're going to put him on display and smear him, as they've been doing. Now, listen to Enes Kanter. This guy has the nerve to be dabbling in politics when he can't even go back to his home in Turkey because he would be locked up. But anyway, let's hear him.
Has been working tirelessly to convince his fellow players to get their shots. So let me just ask you, Enes, and by the way, it is so great to have you on the show. He is saying, look, I want to keep this private. This is a private matter. But to you, is it really a private matter?
What? How is it? How is my status and what goes on with me not a private matter? You see how they always say that? And notice, after but comes bullshit. Immediately after they say this, she inserts but. He said that his decision is private, but how is you gonna ask him a question about something pertaining to my private life? But let's go on.
Whether or not players that you are playing against up close and personal are vaccinated?
Thanks for having me. I mean, obviously, everyone has a choice to make. But in this pandemic,
There you go again. Obviously, everyone has their own personal choice to make. But notice. So that's saying that we have it, but we don't. But what we saying supersedes everything. So it's like a catch-22. What is the point of acknowledging that we all have freedoms? And in the same sentence, you try to trample over it's a catch-22. It makes absolutely no sense.
our choice actually can hurt others. And we are playing a team sport.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because I don't want to play with people who's vaccinated. You're absolutely right.
Just think about all those unvaccinated players going to go against the players who are vaccinated for 48 minutes. And it's not like...
So what about the unvaxxed? We don't want to play against the vax. How about that? What about, so it's that buck what we say, because we now rights. I mean, they impede over them. All they do is contradict themselves. We got rights, but then we don't got rights. Now, like, we're second class citizens. To them, literally, we're second class citizens.
It's not like we are playing ping pong. We are playing a contact sport, it's basketball. So 48 minutes, they will be sweating, and they will be on a whole game. So I don't know if the vaccinated players will be comfortable to go against unvaccinated players. So I feel like we need to definitely touch that point for sure.
To be clear, you don't believe there should be a mandate, right? But do you think if there's not a mandate that these unvaccinated
But, they always say it, but.
players can be persuaded?
I mean, obviously we have to respect everyone in the locker room and respect their decision. But like I said again,
Obviously, we gotta respect everyone in the locker room and respect their decision. But, there it goes.
right, and some of the players are living with their parents and grandfathers and grandmothers who are old. So if one of us can catch any kind of a virus, we can pass it to those who are very old, and they could be in trouble. So I feel like,
See, but what they always seem to forget is the very science that they give us, because although you're vaccinated, studies have shown that you still can catch it, you still can transmit it. See, but they don't speak on none of that. They never tell you about the cons. They always trying to keep more impression. The fake pros, the pros, it's all about this, that, and the third. Let's tell you how good this could help you. But don't tell us the downsides to anything that's ever advertised. That's the whole purpose of them marketing and pushing it out to us. No one ever comes out with something to say, hey, yeah, man, buy my product. It does this. It's very great on this. Oh, and by the way, these are the faults it has. You're going to have this issue. You're going to run. Don't nobody sell or advertise or market like that.
like we in this pandemic, we cannot just only worry about ourselves, but we have to worry about everyone else around us, especially if you're playing a team sport.
Given how high the stakes are, why don't you support a mandate?
I mean, like I said again, at the end, in America there is a freedom of speech, religion, and people obviously can do whatever they want, but they need to be definitely smarter on their.
Wow. And people could. He's singing why he's saying all this, like he just hate the fact that we have freedom, and obviously people could do what they want. He says that like he dread the fact that we have freedoms.
Decision, because obviously we are athletes and we have a huge following. So there are so many people out there, especially so many kids out there, are idolizing us and following our social.
He was ready to say worshiping. Let me rewind that. Just catch his lips. He was ready to say worshiping. You got to pay attention to the context of the language they use. Pay attention. Watch, he caught himself. He was ready to say worshiping. We have so many kids worshiping. Watch.
Just recently that he is vaccinated, but he declined to call on others to do the same. Do you think players like LeBron James, who were so high profile, so looked up to, have a responsibility to protect not only his fellow players?
So now they trying to force LeBron James into being the spokesperson, basically, for the NBA to advocate the other players who's hesitant in getting the vaccine to get it. So they're trying to force LeBron after LeBron already said that it's not his job to do that, and everybody has. LeBron already spoke out against that. He already said it's not his job, and everybody has their own personal decisions. So what they're doing is trying to guilt trip him and force him into being the advocate for it.
Players, but also the black community, when we know
Wow, wow. Let me rewind that. But she talk about something. That girl, that butt. They keep throwing that butt.
But also the black community, when we know the black community has been disproportionately impacted by this virus, by COVID.
We're not impacted. We don't trust you. We never will. And let's just get over it. We don't trust you. You're liars. We see through it. We see through it. That's why.
COVID.
When I heard it, I was very disappointed, and it's ridiculous. Obviously LeBron James, he's one of the face of the league, and he should be the first one to go out there and say, "Listen, everyone,
But why should he be the first? Why should he? You see, they say everybody have choice, but then they tell you what you need to do. Everybody have their own freedom and the right to choose and do as they please. But what he need to do is be the face, and he need to do this. You see what I'm saying? This is the great divide. It's just adding more fuel to it. The whole vax versus the unvax. Now they trying to put this pressure. This what they do. This what they do. And this is how they weaponize the media, because they get, why is this relevant? Why would they have a whole news segment talking about what another guy should do because of the black community and why we don't care about what y'all have to say? Y'all are fucking liars. Y'all are gonna die liars. Y'all are some treasonous fucking bastards who use fear-mongering tactics and propaganda. Y'all are controlled oppositions, and we're waking up. We're waking up.
I got the vaccine, and I'm encouraging everyone, my community, everyone, basketball fans, non-basketball
Don't encourage me.
fans, all the sport fans are just going out there to get this vaccine so we can save other lives. So when I heard that, I just couldn't believe it. But I hope he can educate himself about this vaccination and inspire and encourage other people around him.
Very quickly, have you reached out to some of these hesitant
Oh, I was talking about the war shipment part. Okay, that's 112 left timestamp. I got lost up in it. He said he was.
People obviously can do whatever they want, but they need to be definitely smarter on their decision, because
I just caught that part. But they need to be smarter on their decision. So basically, he's implying that we're dumb if we don't get the vaccine, because what he know trumps what we know.
Obviously, we are athletes and we have a huge following. So there are so many people out there, especially so many kids out there, are idolizing us, and
Look, he had to catch himself. Who's idolizing us, and he already said the wolf part.
I mean, like I said again at the end, in America there is a freedom of speech, religion, and people obviously can do whatever they want, but they need to be definitely smarter on their decision, because obviously we are athletes and we have a huge following. So there are so many people out there, especially so many kids out there, are idolizing us and following our social media and everything. So I feel like we should definitely be a role model, an example of good, for sure.
LeBron James.
An example of good, for sure. So, like I said, you got to pay attention to the context, because he's implying that they're being good and they're the role models because they're getting it. Then the people who's not getting it are being bad. You see what I'm saying? These people talk in tongues.
James finally revealed just recently that he is vaccinated, but he declined to call on others to do the same. Do you think players like LeBron James, who were so high profile, so looked up to, have a responsibility to protect not only his fellow players, but also the black community when we know the black community has been disproportionately
They act, bro, we know they don't care. You see how they act like they care so much about us. When we know that they don't. This is what's funny about her. This is what's funny about the whole ordeal. She more likely would clutch her pocketbook or lock her car door if she was to see somebody like me to walk past her. Hate to be so stereotypical, but we all know, let's just be honest here, that they do not care about the black community. They still using that. They need some new material.
impacted by this virus, by COVID.
When I heard it, I was very disappointed, and it's ridiculous. Obviously LeBron James, he's one of the face of the league, and he should be the first one to go out there and say.
Notice what he just said. He said LeBron James is one of the face of the elites. He said LeBron James is one of the face of the elites. It's always hidden in plain sight. I promise you. Let's rewind that.
Ball fans, non-basketball fans, all the sport fans are just going out there.
I know I'm not tripping. I know I just heard that.
Profile, so looked up to, have a responsibility to protect not only his fellow players, but also the black community when we know the black community has been disproportionately impacted by this virus, by COVID.
When I heard it, I was very disappointed, and it's ridiculous. Obviously LeBron James, he's one of the face of the league, and he should be the first one to go out there and say, listen, everyone, I got the vaccine, and I'm encouraging everyone, my community, everyone, basketball fans, non-basketball fans, all the sport fans are just going out there to get this vaccine so we can save other lives. So when I heard that, I just couldn't believe it. But I hope he can educate himself about this vaccination and inspire and encourage other people around him.
Because if he educated himself, okay, I stand corrected on that. He didn't say, so let me clarify that for the record. He didn't say that. I don't believe. I just believe his dialect and his Turkish accent. But back to this. So he said LeBron needs to educate himself on the matter. How could he apply someone hasn't educated themselves and yet he still try to leave out the pot that even though you're vaccinated, you still could get it, hospitalized, die from it, transmit, pass it, catch it, so on and so forth. If LeBron said that he got the vaccine, why is he telling LeBron that he needs to educate himself? If we all educate ourselves, we'll all find out that the government don't care about none of us, except if you're in a certain bracket, if you're elite or in a certain bloodline. They don't care about us. That's middle class and what? The lower class. We're all the same to the elites. They don't care about us. We know that. But anyway, you see how they always double talk to themselves. They always say what we got, what we do. We have the freedom to do this. We have the freedom to do that. But if you don't, basically you're going to get punished. That is just ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Like I said, the great divide, it continues. How worse is this going to get? Is it really going to spiral out of how bad is this going to get? Just the world, period. I mean, those of us who could see through all of this bullshit and we're literally watching all of this unfold. I mean, with our gang stalking, with the bullshit we see in the media, how we know they're lying, just everyday things that we have to, it's like a burden. It's like a real curse to walk around and to realize that the world is not what most people think that it is. And most people in the world is not who they portray to be. And it's the very ones that we walk by on a day-to-day basis who is all intertwined with this weird, satanic, dark, weirdo agenda shit, bro. Targeted individuals is some strong motherfuckers. I tell you that. I tell you that. To walk around with that type of burden, the average person would go insane if, I'm talking about insane, if they was to be exposed to this. Like, I'm sure some have. Like, y'all have to understand. So, shout out to the ones who still surviving, who still fighting, who still kicking them in their ass. For real, because it's a burden for us to just wake up every day and just see everything just continuously to unfold, and people literally walk around just blind to everything. Literally just blind. Just walking through life just blind. It's weird. Well, anyway, I just wanted to make this video. Sorry for the little rain at the end, but Enes Kanter.